You guys may have seen me in the office. To some of you other guys, I may be a new face. So a little bit about myself. From the South Hills. I went to Chartiers Valley High School. I ended up going to Washington and Jefferson for college, and then New York Chiropractic College after I did a year at Lake Erie College of Osteopathic Medicine. Came back, worked for a few years, ended up meeting Justin at the Raw Games. And then I kind of joined the team back in mid-November. So today what we're going to go over is kind of dieting 101 and how to calculate calories in order to maintain your current weight, lose, and then also gain weight at a sustainable rate. So the first thing we need to do in order to figure out what that is basically figure out our total amount of calories. And I'm going to use myself as an example, but if you guys want to get a pen and paper and kind of do these calculations along the way, you'll get a good idea of where you should be at. So the BMR is your basal metabolic rate, and that is the amount of calories you need to just kind of sustain the amount of calories that you require to burn every day. The macronutrients consist of three things: your proteins, your fats, and your carbs. And that's basically what makes up any food there is. And those have calories per gram in it. So let's go protein, fat, and carbs. So in protein, there are 4 calories per gram. And in fats, there are 9 calories per gram. And for carbs, it's the same as protein, 4 calories per gram. All right, so now that we have that, we're going to talk about surplus and deficit. So a surplus essentially means that your calorie consumption for the day was greater than the calorie expenditure, okay? And the deficit basically means that you burned more calories than you consumed. And that is, you have your Atkins diet, your Mediterranean diet, your keto diet, your intermittent fasting, and they're all the best, right? Every single one of them boil down to one point: calories in versus calories out. And okay, so now we can get started. 200 pounds is what I weigh. Okay, and in order to figure out, this is as a rule of thumb, there's always obviously some outliers, but as a rule of thumb, what you want to do is multiply your body weight by 15, and that will give you the amount of calories that you should eat just to kind of maintain. That's that BMR that we were talking about. And that is 3,000 calories is what a 200-pound person needs to just kind of maintain. Now, we need to figure out if we want to gain, lose, and we obviously did the maintain. So I'm going to kind of get rid of this for now. All right, so in 1 pound, that looks like 116. In 1 pound, there is 3,500 calories. Now, for this demonstration, we're going to basically go over how to lose and know that you are losing 1 pound per week. So 3,500 calories in a pound. That means by the end of the week, we need to be in a deficit of 3,500 calories. So 3,500 divided by 7, that will give you 500 calories. So now that we know that we can take my total calories in order to maintain, and we can subtract 500 from that, and that will give me 2,500 calories that I need to eat every day in order to guarantee that I lose 1 pound per week, okay? Now that we have the calories, we need to figure out the macro splits. So macros, proteins, carbs, and fats. From here, the protein, you'll find anything from 0.7 to 1.3. So we're just going to go 1 gram per pound that you weigh is a good estimate. So again, I'm 200. That simply means that I need 200 grams in my daily diet. That's the typical recommendation for a protein source. Now, for the carbs and fats. The carbs we have to kind of figure out by using what our proteins and fats are. So for fat, it's basically your protein times 0.3. So if you go 200 times 0.3, that is going to give you 60 grams. All right, now that we have our protein macros, we have our fat macros, we need to figure out the carbs. The carbs are the tricky one. So what you do, you take your proteins and fats, and remember how we were talking about there's 4 calories per gram in proteins and carbs, and there's 9 calories per gram in fats. That's where this comes into play. So I'm just going to write a 4, and a 9 next to there. I hope this is big enough and you guys can see this. All right, so 200 times 4, let's write this in a different color. That is going to give you, 800, okay? Now, there's 9 calories for every gram of fat, and we have 60 grams. 9 times 60, that is 540. Okay? So, and these are calories and grams. They're very different. All right, now that we have these two numbers, we need to take our total daily caloric intake, which is 2,500, and we need to subtract the 800 and the 540. So if you do 800 plus 540, that is going to give you 1340 is what those add up to. And now we need to subtract these two. I need some help here. So that is 2,500 minus 1340. That's 1,160. All right. So now we know that the amount of calories that we need to consume a day for carbohydrate source is 1,160. But what we're trying to figure out is the macro split. So we have 200 and we have 60 over here. So we simply have to do 1,160. Let me go down here. If we go 1,160, it has 4 calories per gram, and we're trying to figure out the grams. So this is calories, and there's 4 calories per gram. Do your cross multiply, and that is the equation that will give us what we need for carbs. So 1,160 divided by 4 is 290, all right? So now we have our calories, or our macronutrients. So we've got 200, we've got 60, and we've got 290. So that's how you calculate what we need to lose 1 pound per week, being in a 500 calorie deficit every day. Because that's kind of how all of these diets, they boil down to. It's calories in versus calories out. If you eat more calories than you burn, you're going to gain weight. If you burn more calories than you lose, you're going to lose weight. I mean, that's the only way to do it. All right. Now that we have that, we are going to do how to gain 1 pound. All right, so some of you guys can probably figure out that it's just, well, we just add 500 and then we do the same calculations again. You would be correct, but practice makes perfect. Okay, so 200-pound person times 15, that gave us our 3,000 calories. Again, there's 3,500 calories in 1 pound, so we need to be in a surplus to gain 1 pound every week. So we need to add 500 because 3,500 divided by 7 is 500. So now that we figured out 3,500 calories is what we need to gain 1 pound per week. Then we go back to the drawing board, literally, for the macronutrients. So, protein, carb, fat. This one has 4, this one has 4, this one has 9. I'm going to kind of do these quick because we kind of did this before, but basically the protein's the same, 200 pounds, 1 gram per pound. That's going to give me 200 grams. Multiply this by 0.3, that will give you your fats. And then you do the calculations. I'll write this out. So we have our 3,500, and we know that, because we did this before, this one ends up being 800 because the 200 times the 4 is 800. And this one is 60 times 9, which is 540. Now we need to do that. So 3,500 minus 800 minus 540 is going to give us 2160. That's in calories. So we need to divide that by 4, and that will put us at 540. So that's how we do the surplus to gain a pound. All right. So we have all of our calculations down, and we need to figure out what kind of food sources, and if we're doing all these calculations, how am I realistically supposed to do this? I don't want to track everything. There's a very simple app that some of you may know. It's called MyFitnessPal, and it can actually, you can create your own like custom shake, right? Save it, and then every time you want to put that shake in, you don't have to put everything in and add up the calories. You just simply save it, add it, and then it ends up doing all the work for you. It has a barcode scanner, so if you go to a restaurant, or if you are at the grocery store, or you have oatmeal or whatever, you just scan it and you add it, and you get the one that's like closest to exactly what you have, if it doesn't have the exact product that you consumed. All right, now we're going to talk about cardio. So typically what everybody thinks whenever they need to lose weight, they get on a diet. They're like, okay, I'm just going to get on the treadmill and I'm going to run for 2 hours and I'm not going to eat anything and I'm going to lose weight. Sure, you're going to lose weight. One, it's unhealthy. And two, it's not sustainable. So there's a little chart that I'm going to draw for you guys that makes it real simple, because as you're dieting, right? I'm a 200-pound person. I calculated my macros. I did it for 5 weeks at losing 1 pound per week. Now I'm a 195 person. So whenever you are not declining and losing weight or gaining weight, if that's what your goal is, you need to do these calculations again. So my protein would be 195. My fats would be 195 times 0.3. The difference of the two would be my carbs, that kind of stuff. So getting to the cardio, you can kind of make this y-axis like whatever you want, really. We'll make it times per week you should be working out. All right, so, or times per week you should be doing cardio. So let's just say, let's go here. This is 1 time per week, 2 times per week, 3, 4, and 5. And this is going to be, so let's go, cardio per week. And then this is going to be your duration of your diet. So let's say you're on a 12-week, you guys see that? A 12-week diet, all right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, right? 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, okay? So your cardio is simply a tool to help create the deficit. So let's just say, you know, you had a Zoom call, you had a happy hour, you fell off your diet, and then you put yourself in a surplus for that day by over 600 calories, right? What you want to do, you never want to start at 5 times a week, because if you start here, you have no room to kind of grow. Your body's getting used to 30 minutes of cardio, and you're doing it 5 times a day. Your body's not going to adapt. You're not going to have any progression. So that's kind of what we want, is that progression. So the trend line that you should have for cardio is basically this linear scale, right? Something like that. So as the time goes on in your diet, your frequency goes up. Now you could do cardio every day for 10 minutes and then every day for 20 minutes, 30 minutes. As long as there's progression, it doesn't matter. Or you could do cardio once a week for 30 minutes, twice a week for 30 minutes. It doesn't really matter what this is. This is going to be consistent, but you need to use this as a supplement, as a tool, in order to help create that deficit even more. So that is basically it for cardio. And as far as like which one is best, should I do the same one? Is running better than the elliptical, than the treadmill, than rowing or the bike, or if you want to get into kind of wall balls and CrossFit workouts, it gets a little more difficult to kind of track. But if you have a heart rate monitor, you can kind of do it a little bit better. But as far as you seeing the number on the treadmill, they're relatively accurate. They're not completely accurate. That's why a heart rate monitor is the best way to go. But yeah, so if you use cardio as a tool, that will help create the deficit for you. So I'm going to take this down. And as far as the diet, do you have to consistently only eat healthy food? No, you don't. What I like to call my favorite diet that I like to do is the IIFYM, which simply stands for if it fits your macros, which we went over. So all that means is as long as you are consuming 85% of your meals that are clean, you are allowed to consume 15% that is like pizza and ice cream and cheesecake and all that other stuff. And that's what makes it more flexible, because people tend to fall off because they are craving those things. And another reason why I like to do that is because your body naturally has its own fat burner called leptin. And leptin, whenever you are dieting, those leptin levels, which help naturally burn your fat, they go down and down and down and down. Now, if you want to spike those levels and get them back up, all you have to do is throw in kind of a cheat meal, and then your body gets that influx of carbs, and that's going to help raise your leptin levels all the way back up. So some people call that carb cycling, cheat meals, anything like that. But those are some of my major tips. So I'll kind of just write them all down as a highlight, and you guys can screenshot or anything you want, but we're going to go over. So macros: protein, fat, carb. This is 4 calories. This is 9 calories. This is 4. And for those of you wondering, there is an alcohol category, and that is 7. The next thing we're going to do is cardio. So it is a tool, and it is meant to be used as progression, and don't go flying out the gates. Third thing we want so we got macro, cardio, if it fits your macros. So 85% clean, 15% dirty, and even though all this is cool and now you guys know how to do it, the only thing that matters is consistency. In a week after January 1st, you get back at the gym, you go crazy and you're not seeing results, you give up. You're not going to see, you know, your six pack after 7 days of working out. It's consistency, it's repetition, it's progression through perseverance. Those are the attributes that you have to kind of stick with, and then the results will come. As long as you calculate out your numbers and you do a recalculate every 2, 3, 4 weeks maybe, and you modify it and you get your new numbers and you stick to that, it's literally impossible to not lose weight. Or if you're in the gain, I keep forgetting about that, but gain. Calories in, calories out. If you burn more than you consume, it's physiologically impossible to not lose weight. If you consume more than you burn, you're going to gain weight. Now, at what pace you're doing it, if you're in a surplus of 30 calories a day, you're not really going to see it as soon. If you're something much higher, then you will see it a little faster. The only other thing that I did want to mention, just skip my, that's it. If you are in a, let's just go back to every day, you do not meet your criteria for your calories, your macro splits for that day, and you're over, and you do that for 2 or 3 days. As long as you're in that deficit for the week, you will still lose weight. So you can be in a surplus for a day or 2 days or 3 days. As long as you're in a deficit for the week's period of time, you'll lose weight. And if you're at 3,500 calories deficit, that's your pound that you're going to be losing. Anybody have any questions for me?
Yeah, I actually have a question. Can you speak to the percentages for the macros that come with MyFitnessPal?
It sounds
Yes.
All right, goodbye.
I love it.
Well, whenever at your house now, I'll be back in like 2 hours or something.
For some reason, it had everybody on mute. I don't really know why. All right, everybody should be off. Okay, I'm sorry. Can you repeat your question again?
Yeah, can you speak to the daily percentages that go with the macros that you typically see in MyFitnessPal?
Yeah, so the daily percentages, I'm not sure if I'm understanding your question, but basically, if you take, let's just do this.
Because I usually follow just the grams per day, but I also see that a lot of it shows like a pie and your
Yeah,
percentage
so-
of each.
Remember how we were at that, we did fat, we had our protein, our fat, and our carbs, and I multiplied this by 0.3. So for the fats, I guess the general rule of thumb is 30%, but there's a lot of different kind of diagrams, because I think what you're seeing is something like this, right? And this is protein, this is fats, this is carbs. It might not be that exact split, but is that what you're seeing on MyFitnessPal?
Yeah.
Yeah, basically this model is more of a specific, know exactly how many calories you're supposed to be eating for the day, but there are other types of diets where it's strictly a percentage. So if you wanted to do it for us, for the protein, we had 800. For the fats, we had, what was it? 540. And then if we take the total amount of calories that this is all for a 200 person, was supposed to be eating, which ended up being 2,500, I guess what you could do, you could do 800 divided by 2,500. And this should be right at 32%. This one is 30%, so that means that this is 62. Then this one has to be, what am I doing here? 62 minus 100. This is 38%. So this is almost more of a kind of a third split through everything, but you can kind of get creative with, if you are somebody who wants more of your energy coming from a carb source rather than a fat source, then up your carbs. But if you're taking from one and increasing it from the other, then you just have to make sure that those numbers aren't both going up, or one stays the same, one goes up. If one goes up, one goes down type thing. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions? Nope. Okay. Yeah, so that's my tip on how to calculate your daily diet and how to know that for a fact you're losing a pound or gaining a pound. But yeah, thanks for joining in. I appreciate it. I'll see you guys later.